health. So this is something we will keep in mind and will be kind to our minds, and we will always speak to someone when we are struggling. So thanks again. Thanks, Selena, again, and have a lovely flight. And our next speaker for the evening will be Sister Nike, or Sister Oyenike, and she is an experienced, impactful speaker. And she's an author as well of 13 books in personal finance. She's a personal finance expert, and she's the founder of Lifted Finance Consulting, which is a private financial firm that educates and coaches people and also offers support to people on their way through to financial fitness and wealth management. So she'll be educating us this evening on how to cope with the rise of the cost of living crisis. And we know everyone is affected some way or the other. So she will offer tips on how to manage our personal finances and promote our healthy mental health. So I'll open the floor now to Sister Nike. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here today. I am going to quickly share my screen. The focus of today is to make sure that no question is unanswered. Right from the very day we agreed on this particular discussion, I am a woman of faith. I have been praying, and I've just been really optimistic that everyone here today will leave with questions answered when it comes to the area of our finances and when it comes to strategies that we need to survive in these very challenging times we find ourselves in. I want to start by saying a big thank you to, I call him my father in the Lord, Pastor James. He's been on my journey with me from when I started. And I just see this as a big opportunity. It's given me this platform to do this thing I'm very passionate about, which is just to share, walk with people and just make them aware of all the things that, all the good things in terms of being a Christian that God has planned for each and every one of us when it comes to being financially stable, financially empowered, and this thing called financial freedom. So thank you so much, sir. And Dr. Dolapo, thank you so much for this vision. I got to know about this ministry during the lockdown, 2020. And I'm really, really touched by how much you have impacted the local community. I just pray more strength to you and more wisdom as you continue with this vision. So today we're going to talk about cope. I've got 30 minutes to talk. And for people that know me very well, I talk a lot. So I am just hoping I'm going to compress everything within 30 minutes so we have more time for questions and answers. Dr. Dolapo has already said something about me, but this is just a little bit about me again. Oyenike Adetoye, everybody called me Nike. I'm married. I've been married for 20 years to my amazing husband. I'm grateful to him for allowing me to do this thing I do all around. A couple of 2 weeks ago, I had a breakfast session where we discussed something similar like this. And it's just been like that, one area or the other. Sometimes I physically travel, but anytime I have the opportunity to do it virtually is always a blessing. I'm a proud mom to 2 beautiful girls, 18-year-old, she's currently in the university, and a 10-year-old who's currently in year 6. I'm a management accountant by profession and also the founder of Lifted Finance Consulting. I am not a financial advisor. I always stress that. So everything coming from me today is just from the point of just financial education. I'm just a financial educator and coach. I am an author. By the grace of God, I've published 12 books. The 13th one is coming out in the next 2 days. And they're all available on Amazon. Feel free to grab your copy. All these things I'm going to touch about, the content of all these books are part of my story, which I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to make this very interactive. Please use the chat. If any question is coming to your mind within this confine of 30 minutes, feel free to put it across so that towards the end we don't rush I'm going to share the slide with Dr. Dolapo and Pastor James afterwards. So you don't have to bother about writing things. And this is recorded live as well. You can always rewatch the video. But I just want your undivided attention so that we can make this 1 hour we have left count. And we're gonna start. I love starting by talking about agenda. I love having my session by just grouping in agenda so I don't get distracted. And today's agenda, I'm just basically gonna talk about 3 things. And the first thing we're going to talk about the current economic climate. The good thing about what is going on is it doesn't only affect the UK, it doesn't only affect America, it doesn't only affect Nigeria, it doesn't only affect Canada, it's affecting the whole world at large. As in, anytime you think of, I am not going through this alone, I think it's just one of those things that you just feel, oh, we're all in it together. So we're all feeling the pinch in one way or the other. So we're going to talk about the global economic climate. I'll try as much as possible not to restrict it to only the United Kingdom. This is where I live. This is where I've lived for over 2 decades. But I'm going to try and generalize it so that everybody, wherever you're dialing from, you'll still be able to connect and relate with it. We're going to talk about the strategies for coping. I remember when Pastor James shared it there, told me the topic, told me the team is going to be COPE. And I was like, is it an acronym of something? He said, no, it just means coping. So we're just going to talk about the strategies of coping. What can we do to survive? And I always talk about seasons. Seasons come, seasons go. So whatever we're going through in the current climate, we are just in the season, and it's not going to last forever. I was here in the UK in the last recession in 2008, and it did not last forever. After a while, things became normal again, and we just carried on as if recession never happened. So this is just always the short season that we're going through. Strategies for coping, and then we'll just conclude by going to the Q&A. Now, I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the current economic climate, and I'm going to start by talking about recession. So recession, as painful as it might be, is part of the normal ebbs and flow of the economy. You see, the economists describe it as a period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activities are reduced. It's generally identified as a period of a fall in the GDP. GDP is the gross domestic product in 2 consecutive sessions. So for a very long time, UK did not admit, and I think America still not admit they're in recession. But the recent autumn statement that happened a couple of days ago, they actually, Jeremy Hunt actually said it, that we are officially in recession. And a lot of nations all around the world are currently in recessions. So recession is characterized with high prices. Everything is just, the whole economy is just slow. I was listening to the governor of Bank of England a couple of days ago, Jeremy, a couple of days ago when he increased the interest rate. This guy said we are into the longest recession ever in the past 33 years. And this guy says, Andrew Bailey, that's his name, he said that we should expect a double unemployment rate up until the next 22 years, up until 2025. That's how they forecasted it. So recession is just a glooming session. It's a glooming period for the nation. A lot of things don't appear to be working well, but it's part of the ebbs and flow of what happens in the economy. Now, recession come with it inflation. Inflation, I'll describe it as an economic term, describe it as sustained increase in prices of goods and services. So I will explain it, I break it down by explaining it like the value of your money. The value of your money diminishes over time when we're during inflation. And I'll give a simple example. So over 20 years ago, when I came to England, I've always loved Hovis bread. So the purchasing value of Hovis bread at that time, I think a loaf of Hovis bread was just for 20p. But roll back to 20 something years afterwards, if I have 20p, 20p can only buy me, if I'm lucky, just one slice of Hovis bread. I think a loaf of Hovis bread now costs almost £2. That is what inflation does. It erodes the purchasing power of your cash. So if you have like £1,000 10 years ago, what you can use £1,000 for then is nothing compared to what you can use it for today. So it's increase in the prices of goods and services. And this also only happens for a sustained period of time. That we're all feeling the pinch everywhere. Rising interest rate. UK is currently on interest rate for UK is currently 3%. And I don't know the interest. I didn't have time to check the interest rate of different countries. But UK is currently 3%. And it's just interesting because that is the 8th consecutive interest rate that we have had in this country since December 2021. So I was listening to Andrew Bailey, as in the governor of England, of Bank of England, talk about this a couple of weeks ago when he increased it to 3.0. You see, we started in December 2021 on interest rate of 0.25. So, and it moved to 0.5, it moved to 0.75%, it moved to 1%, it moved to 1.25, to 1.75, to 2.25, and a couple of weeks ago, it moved to 3. You see, inflation affects so many things. So when the economy tried to tackle inflation, one thing they do, one of their strategies is they increase the interest rate. So by doing that, they're slowing people down to spend money because, borrowing costs get so expensive and people eventually spend less and demand for goods and services would drop. That's just one of the strategies for them to kind of get in control of bring down inflation, interest rates rises. But the impact of it is very significant on our pocket. As in, immediately the interest rate rose to 3%. If you're on variable rate mortgage here, you will have started feeling the pinch because a lot of lenders just interest rates to borrow money, to get a mortgage or to renew your mortgage, everything just skyrocketed. So a lot of people that were like on tracker and variable rate mortgage at the moment, they're feeling the pinch. They're advising people to go on fixed term now, but even fixed term mortgages, people are looking at 6%, 7%, which used to be like 1.something%, 2% in the past. Those are part of the rise in interest rate. It impacts everybody significantly. And the last one, cost of living crisis, which is significant. Everybody know about it. Food prices are on the high. Well, if you travel, I was in Liverpool a couple of days ago, and my train ticket was over £100. And I was like, okay, I don't commute by train a lot, but those that commute by train, they will have felt the impact because I think that the rail ticket cost is now increased significantly by between 20 and 50% in comparison to a couple of years. Those that drive, I drive a lot, fuel prices is really gone up. If you have a mortgage, you're feeling it now. If you're renting, you're feeling it now. If you're shopping, you're feeling it now. That is the cost of living crisis. And one good thing is everybody is impacted by this. Everybody around the world. So it's not only peculiar to us here, it's peculiar to the whole world at large. So that is always the first thing I always tell people, that you are not alone. We're all going through this together. And another thing is season come and season go. This season is not supposed to be, it's not going to be forever. It will soon, it has an expiry date. Now, the expiry date, we don't know, but we know, trust me, that we've had so many recessions in the past. It's always, things get better with time. Now, I am the person that I don't always dwell on problems. I always look for solutions to problems. And that is the focus of what I'm going to talk to you about today from personal finance perspective. And during the session of Selena not long ago, and I mentioned something about focusing on what you can control. That is the first thing I'm going to talk about today. So the first thing, don't panic because we are all in it together. And the next strategy for us to cope is that you should and you is advisable. That's the wise thing to do, to focus on what you can control. You see, every day on my various social media platform, I post daily posts. If you're not following Lifted Finance, follow Lifted Finance. It's a lot of drop a lot of nuggets on a daily basis that will help you as in when it comes to wisdom on how to manage your finances. You will grab it in there. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just follow. Knowledge is power in a time like this. So in a couple of days ago, I put in that focus on what you can control. And that's what I just want to talk about briefly here. See, so many things are happening around now that we actually cannot control. So we cannot control the economy, we cannot control the interest rate, we cannot control the macroeconomic events, we cannot control inflation, we cannot control the stock market, we cannot control the government, we cannot control the policies the government are making on behalf of the nation. We have no control over that. But there is something you have full control over. I did chip it in during Selena's session that number one, you have full control over what you hear, you have full control over what you see, you have full control over the surrounding you surround yourself in. But that is not the focus of what I'm talking about here. The focus of what you have in control about when it comes to your finances is that you have full control over your money. And I mean it. See, three things you can do to money. You can do to money. Number one, you can spend money. You can save and invest money, and you can give money. Those three things is under your full control when it comes to your personal finances. So you have full control over what you spend on, whether you choose to spend over your spending habit, whether you choose to live within your means or you choose to continue to live above your means, that is within your control. You have full control over whether you choose to save money and invest money or not. That is within your power of control. You have full control over whether you choose to give money or not. So when it comes to your mindset, when it comes to the money management, you have full control over that. And that is one area that I would like you to focus on. You see, I love financial success comes from recognizing what elements of life you can control and putting all your efforts towards those. And also recognizing what you cannot control and minimizing your effort from those areas. And not only finances, in life as well. I want you to get it into that habit of just focus on what you can control. And when it comes to your money, you are in full control of it. Now, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on management because that is actually the main thing, the strategy I want to talk to us about today. And the first thing I will talk about is that cash is king. I know you've heard it before. In this time, in this season we're in, we need money. You see, I am a woman of faith, and there's a part of the scriptures that says money answereth all things. And that is really true. For you to live and be financially okay, as long as you're on this planet Earth, you need money. And at this time, you actually need more of it. So a lot of people at the start of this year, a lot of organization or corporate bodies, they get pay increase. They get like maybe 1%, 2%, but it's nothing compared to the inflation we're going. UK inflation is currently 11.1%. So 1% pay raise, it means you're still earning, let's just say you used to earn like £1,000 per month. You're still earning around that £1,000 and a little pennies on top of it right now. But inflation right now is actually so much skyrocketed that when you think of it logically, you need more money to survive now than you were at the start of this year before everything go pear-shaped. So at this moment, cash is king. And I always say this, that you need a vehicle to make money at this time. I'm hoping everybody under the sound of my voice here, you have a source of income. Because if you do, I'm encouraging you, I'm pushing you to this tonight that you have to start thinking of how to start earning income and earning more of it. Okay. Now, I know there's some things that limit people from earning income, maybe health reasons, maybe medical reasons. That is understandable. But if you have no reason why you are not working, trust me, a survival tactic this time in the season we are in is that you need a source of income. And I always stress this when I talk about income. I don't mean necessarily means in 9 to 5 jobs. See, there's so many people under the limited confinement of their home with just a laptop and a smartphone, they're commanding millions. You don't have to do a 9 to 5 job to provide solution, to provide services that you will be rewarded for. I define job as there's a need. You provide that need and you get rewarded for it in terms of an income or a salary. There is a problem. You provide solutions to that problem and you get rewarded. So your 9 to 5, you're working in corporate, a 9 to 5 job. There is a need for a particular service. You get employed to provide that service and you get rewarded at the end of the month. So I want us to encourage you, just leave it tonight and let it sink in. That what are the needs around me? What are the problems around me? What can I do to provide solutions to those problems? And you get rewarded. I am very passionate about making multiple streams of income. It's a big topic on its own. But I want you to start thinking out of the box. If you are currently working, ask for a raise. I've done it before. I've asked for a raise right in the middle of a lockdown and I got it just simply because I asked. If you don't hack, sometimes you don't get. Don't think they are seeing what you're doing. I love Sister Emeka said that she makes sure she's visible, that her input is visible to the leadership team that she is working under. So ask for a raise. If you have the physical stamina to have a second job, go ahead and do it. If you have side hustle, is amazing at this time of the day. They start thinking outside of the box. I was speaking to someone a while ago, and she was telling me that she's really, really struggling to make ends meet. I said, you live in a 4-bedroom house, right? I said, yes. Are you using all the room? She said, no. You can you rent out a room from cash? She said, oh, it never crossed my mind. Yes. You can rent out a room and you can make some money to just take off some of the stress of the bills of this high cost of income. And I think you have a limit of if the income you get from it is not more than 7,500 per year, then you don't have any tax implication. I do filing, company house filing, and then corporation tax filing and self-assessment people. But that limit is there. If it's income you're coming from rent a room, it's not more than 7,500. You don't have, there's no tax implication to you. I want you to start thinking outside of the box. That how can I bring in more cash? What else can I do? What are the skill set have I got that I can monetize to bring in more money? Because at this time, cash is king. I'm going to quickly go to the next one because of time. Budgeting is your financial best friend in a time like this. A lot of people don't like that word budgeting. And I will just quickly explain what budgeting means. It just means you're telling your money where to go. It means you're at the driver's seat of your money. You have a plan for your money, even before it hits your bank account. You see, it means every dollar or every pound or every naira you are spending, it has a name. You have an idea of how much inflow is coming in, maybe 1,000 pounds coming in. You have an idea of how the expenses are going, how many expenses you are responsible for in that particular month before the month starts. So all your bills and everything, your savings investments is within this particular amount. And then you know what is left behind if there's any amount left behind. You're just breaking down your income and just classifying it in planning it into different buckets to meet all those expenses and just seeing visually how much you left behind. If you have left behind, what can you do with it? Do you want to save it? Do you want to invest it? Do you want to give it? If you don't have any amount left behind, what else can you do to bring in more income for this particular month so you don't go on red, you don't use credit card to top up, you don't go on overdraft? Those are the things that encompasses this thing called budgeting. And trust me, in this time, You need to be so savvy and understand how to budget. It's nothing big. If you had a techie type, you love apps, there's so many budgeting apps you can use. I'm an accountant. If I'm used to spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet is a good one for you to. 3 columns. These are the inflow. These are the amount coming in for me this month. These are expenses. The first thing I always do, God's money first, my tithe, that's always the first thing. And these are the bills, electricity, council tax, water, rent, or mortgage if you have any, and everything else, you list them and put the amount beside them. Subtract the inflow from your outflow. You'll be able to see a balance. Okay, at the end of this month, I think I need some extra. At the end of this month, I think we are going to be okay. That is just what budgeting and financial planning is about. And you need to be on top of that in this season. The third thing I want to stress is expenses. Expenses is so crucial because one of the things that is peculiar to recession, and I'm so glad Sister Nneka talked about it, that there's a layoff now in a lot of companies. I still work in corporate, and it's the news is everywhere, the rumors everywhere. We are the big companies. Twitter laid off a huge percentage of the staff. We have Facebook followed suit, the laying off a huge percentage. Those are the big ones that you're getting to hear. But this is happening every day. It's those that know, those that are impacted, that impacted. You know, sometimes I go on LinkedIn, I just see so many people with this banner available to work. People are losing their job every day. And that's just one of the coping strategies of many corporate bodies at this time. So one of the things they look at is how for them to survive recession or when economy is really, really tight. And one of the things they look at is how to reduce their OPEX costs as much as possible. And, you know, when it comes to payroll account and when it comes to contractor costs, everything sits under that OPEX bucket when you're looking at your P&L. So that's why laying off or making people redundant is just one of those things that come along anytime we're talking about economic downturn or recession. And, you know, Andrew Bailey said, expect the unemployment to be double before 2025. And I was actually listening to Jeremy 2 days ago, 3 days ago, when he gave the autumn statement. He specifically said that it is forecasted that unemployment will rise to 4.9% in 2024. That is depressing news. It's not good. And I'm trying to explain that because I want you to get into a situation where you know your financial priorities. So there's something called needs and there's something called wants. I need you to, in this season, to understand your needs from your wants. See, needs are the necessity we need for survival. Wants are the nice to have, but we can actually survive without them. Until you have that demarcation of knowing exactly your needs from your wants and just being really prudent about how you spend your money, you will struggle in this time. And I will tell you, we only have 4 needs, just 4 needs. Everything else are wants. And I'll tell you what they are. Number 1, we need food. That is the fuel that keeps us going. So when it comes to survival tactic, anything that you'll be able to put food on the table, hot meal for you and your family is very crucial. That's number 1 need. Number 2 need, we need shelter. We need a roof over our head. That is a need. Number 3 need, we need clothing. And when I say clothing, I mean basic clothing, not designer. This is not a time to start splashing money on just buying. See, this was Black Friday. Used to be one day. It's now Black Friday week. In fact, they started this Black Friday thing 2 weeks ago, even before Black Friday date. Before you spend that cash, ask yourself again and again and again, is this a need or is this a want? You see, I've been in debt. I'm completely debt free now. Even the mortgage of the house we live in is fully paid for. But when I was working on my debt, I did not buy a single item of clothing for myself for 2 years, almost 3 years. And you know the strange thing? Nobody noticed. Nobody cares. So at this time we're in, when every cash is king, your focus is to make sure that you spend less and you save more. Expenses, bring it down. Identify your needs from your want. I've talked about 3 needs. I talked about food, I talked about shelter, I talked about basic clothing, and the 4th need is utilities. You need a roof. You need warm. We need clean water. We need it's getting cold now. You need the boiler to be working. Yeah, we need warmth. You need electricity. I was having a session with some teens. I was discussing my book on teens and young adults, and one guy put his hands. I said, Oyenike, Wi-Fi is a need. I said, okay, I'm going to add Wi-Fi to. I'm going to add Wi-Fi to the list. Yeah, but it's one of those utilities that we do need. So get your priorities right. Everything else outside of those four buckets, they are wants. The latest phone, the latest Samsung is a want. You having driving the latest car is a want, it's not a need. You just need a functional car. You see, a lot of people are living in houses they cannot afford. A lot of people are driving cars that they cannot afford. A lot of people are just one paycheck away from losing their home and becoming homeless. And I just want to encourage you today to get your priorities right. I was speaking to a friend not long ago. She told me she has an invite for party in Dubai. And I was like, okay, so what's the problem? She said she can't afford it, but she doesn't know how to tell them. I said, you don't know how to tell them? Just tell them no. Just tell them no. You know, I wrote my book on financial boundaries just because of simple things like that. Putting your own self first and just tell them. And I reminded her, I said, no is a complete statement. You actually don't need to give an explanation to it. If you are a Nigerian community, we do all this ashway, but they are all needs, they are not. They're all wants, they are not needs. So get your priorities right. Know your expense. You know, those that will survive at this time are those that their expenses is lower than their income. So cash is king. Focus on increasing your inflow. Cash is king. Focus on reducing your expenses. If your income and your expenses are on the same level, you won't break even. You won't have nothing left to save. You won't have much left to invest. So I just want you to get your priorities right. And you know, those that have families here, talk to the kids. They will understand. So I remember before we paid off a mortgage, we called like a family meeting because we normally go annually, we go on holidays every year. And we just literally told our girls that we will not be going on holiday this year. We won't travel out. But we will go, we still staycation. We stay in the UK and we just still enjoy. That was before all the lockdown started. And then we do local holiday. And you know the strange thing, she's 10 now. She was 6 at that time. She said that as long as I sleep in an hotel bed, I actually don't care where. That is how much these kids really understand. Don't go on a holiday on credit card because that's money you don't have. It's a want, it's not a need. Let's carry your family along. At this time we're in, we are focusing on prioritizing our needs beyond our wants. Okay? Bulking up savings. I always stretch emergency savings. You see, during the lockdown, a lot of people were eat. And a lot of people that were eat the most were those that they only have one source of income and they lose that particular, maybe they become redundant or they were laid off. And their financial life became a real complete mess. Because a lot of people find themselves living paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck means the amounts they get in is exactly all the amounts they spend out. They have no savings. Now, if you're here under the sound of my voice, if you want to take something out of here today, I want you to take it out that I must not spend everything I earn. You see, I've been in debt. And when I was in debt, I was still saving. Because I know the implication of not having this thing called emergency savings. You see, at the time, I was saving £20 there, £50 there, 25 pounds there. I did extra shift. I wrote more books. I got invited for speaking engagement. I got £100. I put it in savings. I got into the habit of always saving something. And I want to encourage you to do the same. Because trust me, emergency situation will definitely happen. So I am a woman of faith. There's a part of the Bible that says, when you pass through the fire, it's not if, it's that part said when you pass through the fire, when you pass through the water, it means a time will come when you will definitely face some challenging situation, maybe that you need, that will impact your financial part. Emergency saving is that saving grace that will help you at that time. So a lot of people lost their job during that lockdown, and a lot of people had no savings, and everything was really messed up for them. I encourage you, start bulking up your savings. So if you do that budget and you have extra £100 of all the bills and everything is being paid for, dump it into savings. See, well, some of the things about high interest rate now is savings rate is increasing. So I'm sure if you have current account or savings account, you must have been receiving emails or letters from your different banks saying that savings rate it used to be like 0.01%, but savings rate is increasing now. Maybe that will be an incentive to encourage you to save. But at this time, you need to save money as much as you can. I always encourage people to save at least something to cover 3 months living expense, just in case you need it. I don't want to talk more because I know there might be questions, but let me just stop it there. Emergency savings is a must at this time. Now, one thing peculiar to a time we're in is that debt becomes very expensive. That's one, when I was explaining interest rate, that's one of the strategies of the economy to bring down inflation, the increased interest rate, and the make debt really expensive, borrowing very expensive. So debt is really expensive at the moment. And I just want to encourage people that if you have high rates, high rate debt at the moment, this is the time for you to focus on clearing it because it's very expensive right now. I was speaking to someone, she was paying APR of almost like 48%, 50% on a debt, in a loan she had. And a lot of all these rates, especially credit card debt, they are linked to the interest rate of Bank of England. They will not tell you it's linked directly. Bank of England interest rates, I'm talking about UK economy here for those that join not from UK, just follow me on this story. They kind of always look, a lot of lenders link the interest rate to the Bank of England interest rate. So at the moment, interest rate right now is 3%. So a lot of people, if you have credit card now, it's always on that variable. So before maybe it was like 2%, they will have upped it to like 6%. Debt is now very, very expensive. So if you have high paying debt, credit card, loans that you know that you shelving more to do the repayment it will hinder you from saving, will hinder you from investing, will hinder you from having more cash. Go ahead and focus on clearing your debt as much as possible. Let me pause and say a little bit about debt. I'm passionate about this because I even read a book on debt. When I was on debt, there's so many things I couldn't do. So many things I couldn't do. I couldn't save as much as I could. Then I told you that I was still saving though. I was still saving like £20 there, £30 there. In comparison to now that 30% of my income are saved. And another 30 to 40% are saved and invested on a monthly basis, which is huge compared to how it was then. And you know what? I couldn't do so many things. I couldn't invest as much as I would have loved to. I couldn't save as much. I couldn't give, which is a very big passion of mine, as much as I could have loved to. At that time, I was paying over £1,000 every month in servicing my debt. And now I'm completely debt-free. When I finish paying off all those debt, I still have that £1,000. And this is the beauty of getting out of debt, high interest debt. I still have that £1,000. And do you know what I'm using? I started using that £1,000 for. I increased my saving pot. I increased the percentage. I increased my investment pot. I started putting more into retirement. I started giving more because I have that extra cash at my disposal to do as I wish with it. So at this time, focus on clearing, especially the high interest debt. That is not your friend at this time in the season we're in. And the last bit is keep investing. It might sound a little bit strange that I'm telling you to invest, but yeah, it's a very smart. Have you heard this phrase that millionaires are made in the bear market and during the recession? So during recessions and during time of economic downturn, there's always opportunities. You see, at this time, if you invest in the stock market, a lot of things are under sales. A lot of the shares, a lot of stocks, equities, they're under sales right now. I was looking a couple of days ago at S&P 500. S&P 500, a share of it is around almost $5,000 a while ago. But last night when I was looking at S&P 500 is like indexed investing. of the top 500 companies that control the financial market of America, of the US. I was looking at it last night, and S&P 500 is around 3,900 or thereabout dollars. So everything is on sale right now. It's a good opportunity to actually buy low. If you hear the strategy, buy low, sell high. You buy at a very slow price and just let the money there to grow over time and let compound interest do the thing. But I always say investing, only think about it after you have bulked up your emergency savings. I always say get your priorities right, make sure that all high interest paying debt is being cleared, and then think of bulking up your investing strategy. And the last bit, Lena has already talked a lot of mental health. I just want to just drop a few bits again that see, there's a big part of personal finance that is linked to mental health, because you've heard of this analogy that health is wealth. So if you're not physically able to make money, you can actually not make money. So that is the importance of mental wellness and financial wellness. They go hand in hand. A lot of people that are not mentally stable, they are unable to do all these things I listed under management. They are unable to work, they are unable to handle living, they're unable to even think of doing budget, they're unable to even think of needs and wants. So it's very important and crucial that you take care of your mental health. Because if you're physically able, that's when you can think of money, of personal finance, of how to survive, coping strategy to survive with money. So it's crucial that you take care of that. And I always say, don't suffer in silence. There's just so many. I'm hoping that Angelina is going to share all those, because I don't have it in my slide of all those, all the organizations, all the communities that you can reach out to. You say, speak out, don't self-isolate. This is not a time for you to be on your own. You see, you just hear sometimes that someone committed suicide. Before it gets to that level, that person must have been bottling so many things on their own without sharing it. Reach out. You see, I got to know about Dorcas during the lockdown. And it's a community that help people, they support people. If you need help, shout out. Don't suffer alone. Find yourself among communities that will be able to help. I was telling someone that she says she's feeling ashamed to go to food bank. You children need food. Go to food bank and go grab some fresh vegetables and food for your children. This is not a time to keep quiet and suffer alone. Reach out for help. I'm going to leave it there. But I just hope it's a lot, but it made some sense, and we answer some questions, hopefully to buttress some of this. I always leave my slides, or anytime I have opportunity to talk, by talking about this. See, we've talked about so much today, and the only thing that will make a difference is if you do one thing, is if you act on everything we've talked about today. If you are a family, grab your partner and talk about it. We need to start prioritizing our needs from wants. That is you taking action. How can we do it? Your choice, act on it or ignore it. I just hope this is really helpful, and that's all I've got today. I'm going to open it up now to question and answer. Thank you.